Yo, what is going on, everybody? It's Brave Cat here once again with another Frontier Signals update. So let's just get right into things here, starting off with the space weather side. So we did have an M-class flare, and looking at what we see from the sun, it looks like this was an active region somewhere around here, and it doesn't look like there's any CME component. You can just sort of see like a flash kind of come out of here, so you can kind of see it right there happening. At least I believe that's what the M-class flare location was. And we do see some other minor pops and filament eruptions happening. So if we take a look really quick down here at the 304 angstroms, we can see a little better here at this bottom right section here. We can see a very quick, very rapid plasma filament just kind of erupt out of there. But it doesn't look like it's going to be Earth facing, and it's not very big. And then of course we do see those active regions now turning their way into the Earth facing side. So we're going to have to keep a pretty close eye on that stuff. And taking a look at the magnetic field line map, we see kind of in the central region here is all of the very dense and put together magnetic lines here coming from this kind of central region. And let's see, going back up here at the charts here, the phi angle still seems to be kind of going all over the place, and the BZ has been dipping a little bit below the dotted line here, so we're going to have some southward facing BZ elements here. And then so if we just keep going down and go down here to the chronograph, we can see a little bit of what the flaring might be doing. And it looks like there was perhaps something that happened on the far side of the sun as well. And why is it every time I decide to record, this just stops working? So I guess we'll just go to the NOAA. First, we'll take a look at the GOES 19 because it's a little bit more updated. And I can just drag the slider here. So we can once again see that M-class flaring happen in this region. So it looks pretty bright and pretty powerful, but there's no CME component to it, so that's at least good. And then we can kind of see that little pop that goes on there. It's a lot easier to see the filament eruptions on the 304 angstroms, but this thing takes a while to load. So let's just take a look at the chronograph footage from the NOAA, and then we can kind of see towards the end here. So we have somewhat of an eruption here. Now this whole kind of section here, it's kind of hard to tell exactly where this is coming out from because we don't see really anything happening like that on the Earth facing side. So it seems like there was potentially a far side CME that happened, but again, it's a little bit hard to tell here, so I guess we can take a look at the LASCO feed as well. And so yeah, this pretty big, now it looks a little more obvious here. So it doesn't look like this was caused by that little pop that was down here. It looks a little bit more ejecting straight out of the right. And then there's also some coming out of the top. So my best guess is looking at the far side sunspots here. We could have had this pink region here. Just take a look at the full resolution here. So I'm assuming what that may have been is this far side sunspot that's right in the middle may have had some sort of eruption here with a pretty much a full halo, it looks like. So that's my best guess as to what that is all about, because again, this does not look particularly like the flare we see down here. So that's just my best guess as to what that was. So at least it happened on the far side, potentially, and we don't have to worry about that. But we do have these active regions, these large sunspot groups, creeping over to the Earth-facing side. So taking a look at the magnetogram here, we can see those sunspots starting to emerge, and it looks like there's still a pretty big portion behind it that we still can't see yet, but we can see these two massive ones right here, both of them different magnetic polarities. So there is going to be some complexity to both of these regions. We've got some blue mixed with the orange, and we see that in a few different spots here. So these regions are definitely going to be active going into the next several days to the next couple weeks, depending on how these evolve. You know, they could always grow bigger, they could always grow smaller. You know, they're always changing. So we'll just have to keep an eye on what those are going to be doing. And we do have some aurora on the forecast here with, again, very, very minimal activity that's currently happening. So this is still a little bit abnormal based on the fact that things are still relatively calm, for now at least. So that's pretty much what we got going on in terms of space weather at the moment. So let's just head right into earthquakes here, where I want to go take a quick look at this YouTube channel, which is posting basically cliff notes from Dutch Sense's live streams. So this is pretty helpful when I'm not able to catch when he's live and whatnot. So again, he still talks about the deep 7.1 that struck, and we are still going to be looking for something big and shallow to come out of that region. So we do see some activity going on here finally, and there is more deep activity as well in some of these spots, including up in Alaska. There was another deep event here. Got a 3.8 and another 5 over here right off of Kamchatka, right in between these two sets of activity. And so we're still kind of watching for the Philippines, Indonesia, potentially all the way down to Papua New Guinea for something pretty large to strike. Not quite the megaquake level, but something similar to that deep 7, if not a little bit bigger. And then, so really quickly here, I'm going to bring up the New Zealand feed because there is quite a bit going on there. And there's, well, usually, you know, it's not uncommon to see lots of smaller quakes and deeper activity coming out of here, but just want to put that in there. And kind of comparing that to this map, there does appear to be a couple of earthquakes not showing up on the regular feed. So we have over here at the kind of northwestern tip of New Zealand here, there's a 4.6, and I believe I pulled it up here. So this one is at 500 kilometers depth. So we do have more activity going on here than what is shown. And this is showing the last 150, sorry, of 0.0 and greater. So a lot of those are going to be in the tremors seen over here, and they will also report on earthquakes in this region. So that's why I don't have it up there all the time. So let's just turn that off now that we saw what's going on there and kind of return things back to how it was. So we do see an influx of activity once again here across the Indo-Australian plate. Still waiting on that bigger activity. And taking things here to the United States, we've had a slight uptick once again in the tremors and some of the minor activity going on here. And we did have a 3.5 here in the middle of Kansas. So that's a bit rare. You don't really see that too often. And then we did have a similar same size earthquake. So we have two 3.5s. One of them hit South California and the other hit over here in Kansas. So really quick here, I'm just going to look those up. So let's go ahead and first start with punching in the coords for the South California 3.5, which it's listed as a 3.6 on here. So that already makes me a little bit suspicious here. And just kind of see what we see really quickly here. So shouldn't be too out of the ordinary. I forgot to mute that. Give me 1 second. Alright, well, I looked up the station details for this, and it looks pretty legit. It looks like that's about what it was. And so again, let's just go ahead and see what's at the location really quick. And we'll look up the Kansas one as well. So let's just zoom in here into South California, where kind of looks like a barren wasteland. So if I don't see anything immediately, I'll just move on. It looks like we are just right here in the middle of the desert here, the Grass Valley Wilderness. So there could definitely be some kind of, yeah, it looks like we do have some ancient, essentially ancient volcanic buttes here. So that definitely could cause earthquake activity to strike in this region. So that's probably all that is. Yeah, there's a lot of what looks to be ancient volcanoes kind of dotted around over here in this area. So nothing too out of the ordinary. That's pretty much exactly what we would expect for an earthquake to strike. Now let's take a quick look at what's going on in Kansas and see what's going on there. So we zoom in over here, and I have a feeling that there's probably going to be some drill points around here, if I had to guess. Lots of farmland. Good old Kansas, right? Flat as a pancake, or rather flatter than a pancake. So let's see. Not really seeing a whole lot out here besides the farmland. So yeah, just a little bit out of the ordinary for an earthquake to strike here is all. And so I would probably expect there to be something around here that might have something to do with it. There's an airport over here, but really not much going on over here in Kansas. So yeah, I just wanted to take a quick look at both of those earthquakes, just in case there was anything going on there. So I'm just going to round things off here with the Italy feed and the volcanoes going on. So again, there is a little bit above average activity going on here in this region. And it looks like there was another magnitude 3 and 12 between 2 and 3. So that's what's going on there. And looking at the volcano list for today on Volcano Discovery, there is a pretty sizable list here. We got Spain back on the list, and we even have Stromboli from Italy on here as well. But there's not too many volcanic ash eruptions. So we got one here at Fuego. Looks like that picked back up again with a bigger blast than what it was doing before. And then over here, Sangay. And that's going to be about it for that. So that'll be about it for tonight's update. Hope you all enjoyed, and I'll catch you all in the next.